And welcome back. Here we are, Fantasy Base Camp episode number 2. And today is finally the day. The day we're recording this is opening day. This episode will be out on the day after. But the excitement in all of us right now is opening day. I think each and every one of us has a game on in the background that we're watching. Our fantasy teams are coming together. We're trying not to get first day overreactions. But Wes, how you doing today on opening day?
I'm doing all right. Just to let the listeners know, Mike and might have a little bit of bad blood this week. We started off the year facing against each other, so looks like I was up last time I checked 3 points, but we'll get into it. The guy that I was counting on may or may not have done very well today, so we'll talk about it a little later.
Just one guy.
Yeah, just one guy. He's an important guy, though.
Tommy, Tommy, how you feeling on opening day today?
Well, I think it went pretty much how we expected it to. My offense is doing really well. Rio Muto, Guerrero, Seager, all those guys are performing like they're supposed to. And my pitching, not as much. Corbin Burns was supposed to show up, and he did not.
And how you doing, man? How you feel? Not your team. How you feel, man?
Well, I feel how my team feels right now. It's opening day. All I can think about is baseball.
There you go. All right, well, welcome, Will. Your first episode here. How you feeling opening day today?
I feel great. I feel wonderful. My team feels wonderful. It's all downhill from here for my fantasy team. Let's just put it that way.
What's your team name? What team name, Will?
Well, we changed. It used to be IL Squad, and now we are wish we were healthy. So it's gonna go one of two ways. We'll wait and see.
Just every year, Will has the bad juju. He has this one needs one piece, and that one piece is out for the year typically. But yeah, so I think we're all here. This is our committee of fan baseball camp. I think we've all created our social media. I think we're all similar. So last names here: Burns, Hugh, Lombard, Koshaver. You can find us all at BNB _ our last name. So be sure to follow each of us as we are surely and slowly we'll start our posting some, maybe on Twitter, Instagram, Vice, and just reactions to opening day and such.
There's
So I think we'll start off.
one update to
Go ahead,
that.
Tom.
Wes is B&B Wes.
Yeah, mine is my first name.
There you go. Thank you, Tommy. So we'll start off with today's opening day. So going into opening day lineups and opening day rosters, there were a lot of spring training battle going on for positions and who was going to actually make the roster. Tommy, you want to highlight maybe one battle that you were paying attention to that you think is pretty big?
Yeah, I think one that was important, one that we didn't really know where it was going to end up, was the Mets. Originally, it was David Peterson who got the 5th spot, which was kind of a big deal because Taylor McGill was also having a pretty good spring, but he won out. And then about 5, 6, 7 hours ago, middle of the day, the world gets a Twitter notification that says Justin Verlander on the IL. And so that battle, it's really no longer a battle, but Taylor McGill is going to have that other spot now while Verlander's in the IL.
Man, that's interesting because I think when you ask people who would they'd rather sign, Jake DeGrom's contract 5 years or Justin Verlander's 2 years, I think most people to Verlander's 2 years because of the risk there of DeGrom 5. You'd rather Verlander seems healthy for 2 years. Let's just take his old man Verlander and go with it. So surprise. So all right, Will, how about you? Spring training battle, roster battle. You got one that you had an eye on, surprised by?
Well, the Dre Jameson, he got moved to the bullpen. Is that correct? Got pushed back to the bullpen and the Diamondbacks rotation. Yeah, see, he was one I almost drafted in our draft, late for $1 based on, his success last year. So I was kind of surprised to see him, get the push to the pen for now. So we'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, your boy.
So it a spark situation.
Yeah.
That's how they like to get some of the younger guys to start in the bullpen, get comfortable, and manage the innings for later in the season.
Yeah.
Usually competitors, I think. It's a better idea for competitors to do that. Not saying the Diamondbacks aren't competitive, but that NL West is very Padre heavy. They're usually Dodger heavy in recent years. So, West, how about you, spring training battle?
Yeah, Bryce Terang making the club for the Brewers. Not one that got a lot of publicity. Typically the Walkers of the world, the Corbin Carrolls of the world got most of the publicity, but Bryce Terang, that one was might have been a little bit of surprise, but for fantasy purposes, second base is pretty thin position. So let's say you went through draft and you didn't quite get the second baseman you're looking for. I would keep an eye on Bryce Durang. He's going to play second base for the Brewers. He went 1 for 3 today. Not that that's really any justification. Obviously, a lot of things can happen in April, but he definitely has some good minor league numbers that would suggest that he's definitely somebody to pay attention to. Maybe keep on the scout team, and just see how the news is panning out for him.
Yeah, definitely. The guy I was really hoping to make the roster was Brett Beatty with the Mets. He had a fantastic spring. The Mets
Yeah.
have been looking for a bat, you feel like, for years for third base. Not saying Eduardo isn't that guy, but for years there was rumors that they were going to trade for Chris Bryant. They were hanging out Dom Smith out there. So I think Brady will definitely be up sooner rather than later. His bat's there. Apparently the defense is not, but this is definitely a bat that will make a fantasy impact immediately.
Were you a little surprised
So,
by that, Burns?
any other? Am I surprised that they sent him down?
Yeah.
No, even though they still have the rule for, hey, try to motivate people not to do the service time control. If they don't think the guy's going to win Rookie of the Year or beat a certain other prospect that's a favorite to win Rookie of the Year, just give extra year control.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just do it. It doesn't unless you have a super stud that's top 5 Rookie of the Year. The rules are the same.
Sorry, Julio almost hit a home run.
Yeah.
Get caught instead.
One in track power.
I've got another battle that I think is a pretty notable one. That's down to the Braves. Jared Schuster and Dylan Dodd. We're both fighting for a spot, and then Kyle Wright ends up on the IL. So they both get the rotation spot. So I think that's still something to watch because Kyle's going to come back, and whoever performs well in their handful of starts they're going to get will probably end up getting that rotation spot, and the other one gets sent down. Not even the bullpen just gets sent down. So if you could hold on to one, hold on to both. You got the spots to stash. I think that may be a good one. It's pretty decent pitchers. They're young, but on good teams, and it's always helpful.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, Tommy. As a Braves fan, Mike Soroka obviously hasn't pitched in a while. He needs some seasoning. He needs to kind of get back up. Ian Anderson not making the team and being sent down was probably a surprise for most general baseball fans. I think if you look at Schuster's
He was so good years ago.
I know.
He was so good years ago.
And he was up for what, 2.5, almost 3 years, and then got sent back down. Like that's kind of rare. So
that's how pitching can work out sometimes, though. Rick Porcello, Cy Young, done. Arrieta, Cy Young, done.
Yeah.
Pitching's hard.
It's not easy.
Yeah, he really struggled last year too. When you look at it, I think he had a 5 ERA and only 6 out of 22 quality starts. So it's just tough time finding it for him last year.
Yeah, and there were reports he added a slider in spring camp. He had a breaking ball or something.
Was it Ian Anderson?
Yeah, Ian Anderson.
You still talking about Ian Anderson? Yeah. No, is he lacking control? Is that one to keep an eye on? If he gets called back up for a rotation spot, that you'd want to go grab him?
I would probably take a flyer on him. I would, and the reason that
is that because you're a Braves fan, or is that because you're a Braves
not
fan?
Not necessarily. I would say it's because of the Braves offense, right? Because wins are pretty valuable. It's a streamer where if he has a 2-star week, right? Like I can start Ian Anderson. I feel pretty confident that he's probably going to win one of the 2 games at least. So that's a guy where because he's on a good team, I would take a flyer on him. If he was pitching for the Reds, I wouldn't say the same thing.
True, because even on a bad team, Great American Ballpark, the flies out of there. I bet it's pretty close to. I'd be curious to know where it is on the list on Hitters Park compared to Coors Field, because how many hitters have we seen lately? Like Brandon Drury go to
Yeah.
Cincinnati and become that valuable, and why it's a good idea to keep an eye on Will
Right.
Myers, because Will Myers, he's
Jesse
in
Winker
Cincinnati
is
this
another
year.
example.
Jesse Winker, yeah, he's another example. As soon as he left Cincinnati and went to Seattle, dud. That's unfortunate because he was a big name coming up for Cincinnati for so long.
To that note, though, he went.
So yeah,
I was gonna say Winker did go back to not back to, but to the Brewers, and they've known for having a pretty good home ballpark.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how he pans out this year. He's definitely a bounce back candidate if he didn't get drafted in your league, but I would say he probably got drafted in most leagues. But Jesse Winker is definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
yeah, I'd put him on your scout team if you're familiar with what I mean by a scout team. Do you guys utilize scout team?
Not really.
'Cause you can easily add guys to your scout team, and then you can see player news for them. So that's how you.
Yeah, that's the reason I do.
Make sure you don't miss something about someone who you're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I check the names every day, anyways.
Yeah, Tommy.
Some of us are busier, Tommy.
yeah. Tommy is my news source.
Yeah, I don't even look at my players anymore. Someone gets hurt. Tommy's got me covered.
Now, is that just he likes sharing news, or he just likes shoving it in your face?
Probably both.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Well, like the Tristan McKenzie one, I think a spoiler up to a head. We get notification that Tristan McKenzie strained somewhere in his shoulder. He's gonna be out from 2 to 8 weeks, and I shared that one not because Will had him. We just drafted him. He wanted him really bad. That wasn't a win for me because I like Tristan McKenzie. I've seen some interviews of him. I like him, and he has a lot of fantasy value. So losing him for almost 2 months, that sucked. And I was sharing that just as a damn, this sucks. But if it was, you were facing me that week you had him, I'd feel a little better about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you.
So, all right. How about we move on then to any prospects? I think I mentioned Brett Beatty, but are there any prospects that you're excited that made the opening day roster? Like Brett Beatty got sent down. How about guys who did make the roster that maybe were fringe, like 200 average draft pick, that you think moved up the board, and if they're on your wire to go get them? Will, you got one for us first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. He's on my team, but Edward Cabrera, given his stuff, the potential's there, and he was battling, they said, for that 5th rotation spot, and he's going to be starting game 3. So had a very good spring. I think he's got a changeup that's sitting at 93, which is absurd to me for a changeup. It's kind of hard to comprehend that, but he's got the opportunity and got all the tools for it. If he can just put it together, I think he could be really solid.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Tommy, how about a prospect that you think drastically increased his fan value?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 of them actually as our resident American League East correspondent. I'll give you one from the Red Sox and one from the Yankees. This one was probably more of a given. Not really surprised here, but Tristan Casas. Not only was he given the job at first base, but he was basically handed the keys to the Lamborghini. They optioned Bobby Dahlback to AAA, and Justin Turner's going to kind of be a floater. So Casas, it's his job to lose. And there's some interesting note from the beat writers that he won't do it right away. But as the season goes on, he's got a possibility to lead off versus right-handed pitchers.
Casas is lead off?
Not right away, but against right-handed pitching in the future. His on-base percentage is just insane. His ability to see the plate.
Is he not like more of a 2-3 hole, 2-3-4 guy?
He's like
with the power he's got?
He's kind of like a better average Kyle Schwarber. I'm not saying he's gonna be that. That's big shoes to fill, but he just gets on base. He walks so much. He leads off pretty well. And the second one I'm gonna give you, this was actually a true battle, was Anthony Volpe. He ended up securing the starting shortstop job for the Yankees, and he's batting 9th today, so that's gonna hurt him a little bit from a fantasy perspective. Less at bats, but any starting job in the Yankees lineup is pretty valuable.
Yeah, they're saying he could be a 20-20 kind of guy, or even home runs, 20 steals.
Yeah, he stole.
That's valuable.
He stole base today.
He stole 50 in the minors
already today.
Yeah.
But what does that do? The Yankees now have 3 shortstops in Volpe,
Oswaldo Cabrera,
Peraza, and INF
IKF,
or IKF.
Isaiah kind of Falefa.
I think IKF could
He's
quickly find his way off the roster.
Yeah, he's gonna. It seems like he's gonna kind of end up the utility man for them. He's just the odd man out, right? He's not gonna play second. I think DJ is gonna man that for the most part. Third base is Donaldson until he likely loses the job at some point in time, in which case, Peraza might end up at third. IKF will get his playing time here and there, but it seems like he wasn't the fan favorite in New York. And let's be honest, New York's got some.
Donaldson.
No, Isaiah kind of Donaldson too, but
Yeah, when the Yankees traded for IKF, it was kind of a head scratcher because he wasn't a bat.
right,
He was more of a defensive specialist.
right,
So I wouldn't be excited about it, and about him under when the Yankees needed a hitting shortstop,
right.
they went for defense, which that's probably the second position. What would you say? Catcher's the position you want, of course, the defense first.
Yeah,
And then I
center
would
field.
argue between shortstop and center field. Yep. So, Wes, that was Tommy listed those two players there. What about you for prospects that increase their value by making the roster?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Oscar Colas. We've been seeing reports for this guy for a while. He was the Cuban Otani, right? He gave up pitching a while ago, thankfully. And truthfully, he didn't really pitch that much if you look into what he did. But if you look at his minor league numbers, every step of the way, he had over 300. And if you saw some of the reports from the White Sox camp, they said he's ready to hit in the big leagues. They're unsure about his defense, but it sounds like they're going to give him an opportunity to kind of play every day. So that's one I'm definitely keeping an eye on because I think he can hit, and I think he's proven he can hit at every level. From a fantasy perspective, we don't really care much about defense, right?
No. It would be a fun way to see how you could add defense to it a little bit. How I guess that's pitching. Like football had defense, but that's pitching. Pitching is defense.
Yeah.
He should see plenty of opportunities, though, you would think, this year. And given, Eloy and Robert's injury history,
Yeah.
I don't think they've yet to play a full season. So I think he'll get plenty of time to show what he's got.
I mean, yeah, Robert and Eloy are the type of guys that slip a shower. Who was that? Will that you
Blake
had
Snell.
slipped in the
Blake
shower?
Snell is who he
Was
said
it
it
Snell? Slipped in
Still,
the shower.
people never forget.
I'm sure he actually. Did Snell? Who broke his? It was Jesus Luzardo who broke his pinky, slamming his controller down, 2 or 3 years ago.
He's probably
Let's say
playing Warzone.
2019. Probably playing Warzone. Some hacker came up to him.
There was another injury about someone dropped a sink on there. I want to say it was a Tampa Bay Rays pitcher. Am I making this up?
Oh, no, you're right. Who was that?
Sink on their toe or something. I thought that was Blake Snell.
I feel like I should know that since I live in Tampa, but
I think that was Blake Snell.
It might have been. I think the shower thing
No.
was a running joke, was it not?
I don't know. Anyways, it's not
Did Ron
important.
hurt
But
himself like that before really silly. So, all right. Well, the guy I am excited that made it, even though now I ended up with Will Smith as a fantasy catcher, but Logan O'Hoppe, he was the Phillies' top prospect that got sent over to the Angels for Brendan Marsh, and actually, O'Hoppe wasn't the only guy that came over. It was the Phillies' former first-round pick, Mickey. I can't remember his last name.
Mickey Moniak.
Yeah, Mickey Moniak. Gave up on him pretty quickly, but Logan O'Hoppe could be is gonna see starting time. I think more and more start time as the season goes on. He's a great hitting, overall, just defense and offensive catcher. He was the #1 prospect for the Phillies, and he was highly regarded in all of baseball. So that's definitely one. If you need a catcher and you didn't know the name, Logan O'Hoppe, I would definitely go snag him. I know I personally would not carry up a catcher on the bench. You start your catcher, and that's what you do. There's much more valuable players to stash on your bench. But if you need one, Logan, maybe keep an eye on Logan. Don't necessarily go grab him right away. I think Matt Stacy, did have a good spring, so they might be back and forth a little bit. And catcher does that anyways.
Yeah, or if you're in a league like ours where you have minor spots.
Yeah, if you have a minor spot, Logan will have to definitely qualifies for
I do feel like we have to mention Jordan Walker, just kind of give him his due. He did make the roster. If there's a
that. Could you believe? And how old is Jordan Walker?
24, is he 24?
He's younger than that. Maybe you're right. But the guy looked 34.
He does. He looks like he's 40 years old.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who
Yeah,
thought that.
I'm sorry, we're way off. He's 20.
Yeah, I thought he was.
He
young.
looks like he's 30.
Dude looks.
Yeah,
He's a big old dude
Yeah.
he's a
too.
big dude. If there's a guy that does what Julio did last year, I think that's probably the best bet. Like, I don't know if you're going to get another guy to do what Julio did last year, but he might
I
be the guy.
Chad has Jordan Walker.
He does.
Yeah.
You think Chad actually knows what he has in his hands with Jordan Walker?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We have a couple of guys in the league that they don't know what they have. They sit there in the minors the whole time, and they just drop them. I, I think we can talk trash about our other teammates or other player owners here on the podcast, and then we know if they chimed in or listened in. So we can talk trash all we want of the other guys. So
He did pick up one of my minors, people that I dropped. So I don't know. Maybe he does.
that you dropped.
I dropped him. I dropped Daniel Espino because of the shoulder issue,
Oh right.
and he picked him up. So hey, and he picked up Andrew Painter. So
Yeah, I think all of us. I think Andrew Painter in everybody's mind was like,
yeah,
oh,
that's
my
the guy.
sneaky pick.
That's the sleeper. Nobody knows about that.
Everybody was watching Andrew Painter. Me and Will and Ethan were playing Warzone, and also Ethan's like, the Andrew Painter news came up that he was out for the year, and Ethan was immediately like, oh man, that was gonna be my pick. And I was like, oh yeah, me too. And I was like, oh, that was supposed to be my sneaky pick. What are you thinking about him for? So, all right. So we listed some spring training battles. We got into prospects there. Was there any matchups today on opening day that game that you were being sure to tune in for besides your own team, the Red Sox or the Braves?
Yeah, I was excited to see Logan Webb and Garrett Cole face off, mainly because it was taking place during the workday. A really good distraction. But
Yeah, there was a good amount of day games today.
yeah, there was.
Yeah.
There was, and if outside of the 2 home runs Webb gave up, he pitched very well. I think he was matching Cole in terms of strikeouts. I think he had 12 to Cole's 11. So they both went out there and were shoving for a little bit. He just had those 2 mistakes that cost him.
Who ended up with Webb?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
It was Holland. Holland did. So Webb went 6 innings, 4 hits. So hold on. 6 innings, 4 hits, 12 Ks.
Mhm.
12 Ks in 6 innings.
Yeah, just
But he did have 4 earned runs.
2 long
So,
balls. Yeah.
but that was still a quality start. He still got 12 points, even though he went 6 innings, gave up 4. 12 Ks. That's impressive.
Yeah, against that lineup for sure.
I mean, the runs against him. I know one was an Aaron Judge home run. Yankee Stadium is a home run friendly park. Which Logan Webb is a great ground ball pitcher, so maybe the ones that did bloop into the air made it over the fence, and you can expect better things from not Otani, that's just popped up over here, from Logan Webb. You can expect better things from Logan Webb by looking at those strikeout numbers, because that Yankee lineup is, nothing to push over. Might be a high, swing strike kind of lineup, but that's positive things looking at Logan Webb. Tommy, do you have an opening day matchup you wanted to watch besides your Red Sox?
Yeah, I watched the Red Sox, and that's the last I want to talk about it. And then I was really excited to watch Mets versus the Rangers. Not because I care about the game, but I care about those matchups. Aaron Nola versus Jacob deGrom, and they did disappoint.
Phillies?
Phillies. What did I say?
Mets.
Yeah, the deGrom thing is throwing me off. Mets. Rangers versus Phillies. I got to get used to this new year. What's just spring training for all of us. So, Aaron Nola, 3.2 innings, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not the box score we thought we were going to get. Jacob deGrom, 3.2 innings, 5 earned runs, no walks, which was good, 7 strikeouts. Both of those very disappointing. We'll chalk it up to being early. Maybe it was cold in Texas. But that just wasn't the game I was expecting to see.
do they usually say that the pitchers are ahead of the hitters?
Yeah, typically.
Maybe if DeGrom would have went to the WBC, he'd be ready more. Who knows?
Well, he's spent some time injured early. They shut him down for a week or 2 in spring training.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he wouldn't have got injured in the WBC though.
I think we need to see guys like him in the WBC more often. Look, he could have gone. Verlander could have gone. Scherzer could have gone.
And they wouldn't have slipped in their showers. They would have been somewhere else.
DeGrom is the guy that is on my team that I'm counting on a lot. So giving up 5 earned runs, was it, Tommy, today? It was not looking too good between me and Burns' matchup. So.
Yeah, I've got him in enough.
And right now, your other pitcher going tonight, Julio Urias.
Yeah, give up 2 in the first.
Already got 2 runs in 4 innings.
I've got DeGrom in another league, so I feel your pain there.
So we got opening day matchups from Tommy and Will there. Wes, what game were you watching today?
Yeah, I was watching the White Sox and Astros game. So Dylan Cease is one that, if you listen to industry experts, a lot of them are calling Dylan Cease a bust. They think a lot of his season last year, I think he ended up with a 2.29 ERA. A lot of his season last year was luck, which is mostly true. But
that happens with strikeout pitchers.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing, right? Cease is a strikeout pitcher. It's what he does. He does give up some loud contact at times, but he strikes out a lot of guys. And I forget which podcast I was listening to today, but somebody said that he's going to finish the 4th best pitcher on the White Sox staff. Personally, I don't believe that. Look,
who's in front of him that he'd be number 4?
Lynn
Giolito.
Yeah, Lynn Giolito and Kopech. And I'm like, I can't. I don't know if I can buy into Lynn. Maybe believable. Giolito, I can certainly see a bounce back, but I'm gonna be honest. I think Cease has the best stuff on that staff. So, look, even if he does regress,
Cease has been high regarded his whole career.
Yeah. Even if Cease does regress, right? Like, what does he regress to? A 3.2 ERA? Like, that's still among the best in the league, right?
Strikeout per inning.
Yeah.
That'd be strikeout per inning would be regressing for him. And that quality.
In his last 13 innings in spring training, he went 13 1/3, 2 earned runs with a 1.02 WHIP. Today he went 6 1/3, 1 earned run with 10 Ks, no walks. So, look, the guy has it. I think he might be considered a bust amongst the fantasy faithful, but he's still a guy I believe in a lot. I love watching him pitch, and I think the White Sox might be a much better team this year. So, definitely a guy I'm keeping an eye on.
You think the White Sox are the favorites in the AL Central?
I don't know that they're the favorites. I think the Guardians are still the favorites, but I think the White Sox could make a run for it because I think they have a better team just altogether. Whether it's pitching, hitting, the lineup is better. I think the Guardians certainly have more superstars. Where you're talking about Jose or Bieber, right? But just as a whole, I think I like the White Sox.
I think the White Sox team over the last 3 years, if you look back 5 years from now, could be one of the most disappointing teams because they had such talent and never did anything with it.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony La Russa.
Yeah, Tony La Russa, old man. He really messed that up last year. I think when your guy pimps a home run and you don't have his back to the media, I can imagine what that clubhouse was like.
You can't embarrass your own guy to the media, right? Like if you're one-on-one and you say, hey man, look, we can't do that, and you're behind closed doors, okay, that's one thing. But like when you don't have your own guys back to the media, then you're just feeding them to the wolves, and like that's just not. You're gonna lose a clubhouse pretty quickly that way.
and I'm sure he did in clubhouse atmosphere, but we don't have to dog Tony La Russa too much, but I think we all know how our feelings are about a 70-year-old man trying to manage a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Right.
Just not going to work out. Even even though, hey, Coach Steve, I'd love for you to come back, man. Come and coach us. So, all right. Well, of course, I watched the Cubs today. Um, great Cubs game today. The game I wanted to watch though is actually two games that are going on now on the West Coast. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and the Padres and the Rockies. Just two teams that I think that's the teams with the four teams. Who else is in the Giants? These are the
Yeah.
four teams that are going to be competitive. Could be competitive in the NL West. I don't think the Giants have it, but the Diamondbacks could surprise you. Will mentioned earlier, there's a starting pitcher. Who was it? Jameson.
Drew Jameson.
They
Yeah.
got moved to the pen. Yeah.
He moved to the pen. Brendan
Five.
Pfaff
Five.
is a starting pitcher who was led all of minor leaguers in strikeouts last year. They've got Corbin Carroll, the favorite to win NL Rookie of the Year. The Dodgers aren't as good as they used to be. The Rockies, it's Coors Field. They've got Chris Bryant. They've got Zach Veen waiting in the wings. They've got Tovar at shortstop. So these NL West games, I'm waiting to see how the kids do on the Diamondbacks and Rockies to see if finally not the Dodgers and Padres show, as it has been the last half decade. I know the Giants slipped in there 1 year somehow. Don't know how they won 100+ games
in that year.
going from last to that. Yeah,
That was a
but
flash in the pan type of year.
so okay, yeah, right. So today's opening day, as we're recording this, is there any matchups that you guys are looking to this weekend or into next week that you are penciling in as, hey, I want to make sure I watch that game? Because this is a 11-day period for us. We are capturing Thursday for our fantasy period, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then all of next week. So it is a long week. So hard for us to give some fantasy advice this first week. But be sure next week we'll be recording in prep for week 2, where we can help with, hey, maybe some of these roster battles aren't working out. You might see some tunes, or definitely we'll be getting into start sit for pitchers. So this week is more just an overview opening day, but be sure next week we'll have better preview advice for you guys for fantasy baseball. But Wes, do you have a matchup that you just excited to keep watching?
Yeah.
Two teams or
I'm gonna go with a singular guy. So I want to watch. I like younger guys. I skew toward.
do you?
I like the prospects. I like the younger guys. I like you know. I'm gonna watch Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan with Twins. Had a decent year last year. Um, I don't. He wasn't like a huge prospect coming up. Do you guys remember that at all? Like I don't. You remember anything coming about Joe
No,
Ryan?
I mean, remember him being picked up by Westerhouse
Yeah.
and him being kind of excited about it, and I was like, you can have him.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like in fantasy, the top guys, right? Your Beavers, your DeGroms, your Garrett Coles, right? The difference makers typically in a fantasy year are the guys that didn't get drafted, that are on the waiver wire that you're going to pick up, right? So a lot of times for me in the first few weeks, I'm watching those guys who may or may not have gotten drafted, right? Depending on how deep your league is, Joe Ryan might be on the waiver wire. He's a guy who had a good season last year. He started 27 games. He went 147. He had a 3.55 ERA. And every step of the way in the minor leagues, he struck out 10 or more per nine. And to add to that, he never walked more than 2.7 per nine. So he's got a really good strikeout to walk ratio. So he's a guy, for him, for the Twins. I kind of want to see him pitch, see how that goes, and see if he's kind of maintained the gains that he had, in the majors last year.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. I mean, how about you? Is there a guy, play, a team, matchup, pitching matchup, player, all the above? What do you see in the next week that you are keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I can't speak for a matchup. I haven't looked that far ahead to see matchups, but I'm going to do pretty much what I always do. You asked me for one, I'm going to give you two guys.
Only two?
Only two this time. A little lower on the rankings, may or may not be available. One of them is Jeffrey Springs. He kind of quietly came on the radar last year. No one really knew much about him. Tampa Bay picked him up in a trade from the Red Sox a couple years back. He wasn't that good, and all of a sudden he's pretty good last year. And through spring training, he had 14 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 24 strikeouts, and a .5 WHIP. So he had pretty good hype from last year, and he seems like spring training's picking it up. I'm curious to see if he can continue that. And the other guy would be Graham Ashcraft, way down on the rankings. He had an extra pitch this offseason, and he had another really good spring training, which intrigues me. 25 strikeouts through 17 innings, 2.6 ERA, and a .87 WHIP. So all those are fantastic numbers. So whether this is real or not, Graham Ashcraft doesn't play on the best team. He doesn't play in the best ballpark for a pitcher. But if he's striking guys out at that pace, balls aren't going to leave the field. So I think those are two guys that I'm curious to see what they do.
But what ballpark does Graham Ashcraft pitch in?
Cincinnati, is that Great American?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like the worst.
Cincinnati. Yeah, it's one of the worst. But man, Cincinnati.
They're pitchers.
I mean, if you wanted to just see the rotation, Hunter, like
Find
Ryan
out.
just said, Graham Ashcraft, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. Who's their other two? But it's just those three could end the year as aces. I believe they have the potential as fantasy aces.
But yeah, those two guys intrigue me. I'm gonna be watching them closely, not only because they're on my fantasy team. I picked them up because I think they intrigue me, but I'm curious to see what they bring to the next level.
So Tommy, my challenge for you next week: talk about somebody that's not on your fantasy team. Give us.
Hey, you know what high school Graham Ashcraft went to?
Huntsville.
Yeah,
He's a hometown boy, man. He's from our hometown, dude.
Huntsville High,
Yeah,
right?
Huntsville High.
Huntsville High. There you go. Hey, North Alabama's coming around, baby.
Hey, it's a hot spot for baseball talent, man.
Hey,
It's getting heavy. It used to be Birmingham
Yeah.
all the time.
Burns, I think you're leading
The
the
good old Vipers started
I think
that.
you're leading the listeners wrong. I talked about Tristan McKenzie, Aaron Nola, Anthony Volpe, plenty of guys that are not on my team.
Okay,
And
okay.
just to point it out, Great American Ballpark is second in ballpark factor behind the one and only Coors Field.
Of course, yeah, makes sense.
It is number 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
Okay.
that,
I'm not
that's
surprised.
according to Fantasy Pros. So
Okay. All right. Well, moving on then. Will, player matchup, somebody you want to keep your eye on for this next week?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull a Tommy and give you two here.
No, no.
One guy, real quick, that I wanted to see how he continues to bounce back is Gleyber Torres. 2019, 2018, he came on the scene pretty hot. I think 2019 he had 38 homers, 90 RBIs, and then his 2020 and 2021 were very lackluster. And then last year he kind of started trending back upwards in the right direction, and starting out hot today. So I'd like to see how he continues if he gets back to that 2019 form.
Where'd he play today for the Yankees? Was Volpe at shortstop, Donaldson at
he
third?
DH'd.
I think LeMahieu was at. Gleyber DH.
Yeah, he had a home run and a stolen base, so he
Yeah.
kind of did it all.
So
Yeah, the Yankees have a crowded infield with Volpe, Torres, IKF,
yeah,
LeMahieu.
Donaldson.
Is that Oswaldo?
So Aaron Boone went out and said that IKF is pretty much going to be used as a utility guy now, and it's going to spend some time in the outfield. And Oswaldo Cabrera is going to play a lot of outfield too. So the infield's crowded, but I think they're 26 man's crowded more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nice to have those guys that play infield and outfield. I was just looking at Ben Zobrist, who play second, short, outfield. Those guys are very important. If someone needs a day of rest and you have a bat, but you can play at any position at an average level, that's key.
Yeah, it Burns. I got
That's fantasy point. I don't know, but from a fantasy point, even that's valuable. Like DJ LeMahieu's first, second, and third.
Tommy
If
Edmond.
you have an injury,
Edmund, yeah.
Tommy Edmonds, Brandon Donovan, guys multiple eligible like that. Those guys have value, a little bit increased value than you typically might not think about. But if you have an injury and you can just slide, or you find someone on the waiver wire who fits his position, you can just slide him to another spot. That's always nice to have. Like when you have guys who are just, if you have a lineup that's just strict position, you can find yourself in a tight spot sometimes.
Yeah. Especially if it's a
So
position
what do
that's
you?
like pretty light. Like a Jordan Walker is going to be third base and outfield eligible, right? Like those are,
Yeah, it's huge.
yeah. Burns, I got one more I wanna add to that.
Yeah, we'll head to. We'll come back to Will, your second one after Wes is here.
All right.
That one.
Um, so I watched the last spring training game for the Angels that Reed Detmers pitched, and guys, he was sitting 96, 97,
Goodness.
and his slider was at 90, which is not typically his average fastball. Last year was 93 and a half. So I'm really interested to see if he maintains that velocity gain. So just to give you a little insight, his first year in the league, his average fastball was a little over 91 and a half, 92 miles an hour. Last year was 93.
And you said it was what?
He was sitting 96, 97.
98?
Yeah. He struck out JD Martinez on a 97 mile an hour fastball. And I've never seen Detmers hit anything above 95. So his slider, I mean, well, it's a breaking ball. So his breaking ball already has a 70 grade, right? If his fastball's sitting 97, that's a guy I'm interested in.
Yeah, definitely. He had the minor league career to pick it up
Yeah.
of a high strikeout guy who 8 innings.
Yeah.
Not the number eight, but he literally chowed down on some innings. I think the only downside to him is you won't see him and Patrick Sandoval, guys who are quiet names maybe, is you might not see 2 start weeks from them,
Right.
being that the Angels are typically a six-man rotation with Otani. Hey, but they're one injury away from being a 5-man. And there's 7 days in the week, 6 games, six. Okay, yeah, I was trying to justify it a little bit more to maybe they'd get a two start
Yeah,
week.
well, I mean, there are
But
some weeks, right, where if he starts on a Monday and they got, 7 games that week, then, maybe he'll have a 2-start week. That's rare. That's going to be rare, though, in the Angels rotation.
yeah, I'm definitely a Reed Depth fan. I mentioned him, I think, on last episode of the Breakout.
Yeah.
And of course, he's a trash panda here local to Madison. So, pitched the first game ever for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So that's always fun to see guys go see them locally. Like I got to see Javier Baez at the Huntsville Star Stadium. I saw Chris Bryant in Chattanooga against. That was the
Yeah.
best. Clayton Kershaw was on the IL, surprise, and so he went to make a rehab start for the Chattanooga Lookouts. And so I left work early to go see Kershaw pitch in Double A, but he was facing the Smokies where Chris Bryant was at the time in 2013. So that was awesome. That's the fun thing about minor league baseball. But anyways, Will, how about your second player that you have that you're watching this week?
Yeah, so second one
Week 1 of
is
fantasy
going to
baseball.
be Matt Olson, coming off a hot spring, second year with the Braves. I would just love to see him hit that 40 home run mark. I think he's gone last 2 years, 39 and then 34. So he's coming out to hot start. I'd love to see him hit 40, reach that mark.
And you want to, if that average could come up with
Yeah.
no more shift.
Yeah, that's very true.
He's definitely one affected by it. So you wonder if he could add 20 points to his average.
True. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Although he's not on my team, I'd like to see, him push that 40 home run mark, get to around 120 RBIs, and see if the average can climb a little bit, like you said. So it's there for him. We'll see if it happens.
And in that Braves lineup, there's no single guy that is being counted on to be the bat.
Mhm.
They have how many bats? Austin Riley's an MVP candidate. Ronald Acuna Jr. is an MVP candidate. Matt Olson could be an MVP candidate if that average climbed up.
Mhm.
I mean, who else on that roster could be an MVP
Ozzy's
candidate?
back, right? Like, and I wouldn't say.
I mean, I wouldn't give. I would give that to
No, I
Ozuna.
don't think he's an MVP candidate, but between him and
As-
Michael Harris, right?
Ozuna could be an MVP candidate in the boxing ring.
Or the dance floor, as long as Pepe's
What are
is
the
going.
dance for? Who else is the Braves outfield? Acuna,
Eddie
is
Rosario.
Ozuna
Yeah,
starting?
Rosario. It kind of seems like Rosario and Ozuna are going to platoon over there. Um, Rosario kind of had a decent World Baseball Classic, but I think they're going to platoon in left field until somebody gets hot.
Not that this has any fantasy relevancy, but I believe they selected the contract of Kevin Kiermaier today as well.
Yep.
That's probably for your
The Braves did?
your
Yeah, that was
deepest NL only leagues, but
Yeah, he's a defensive specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Braves could really that's a deadline thing that they need to add for is a Jorge Soler,
Yeah.
type of thing from 2021.
Yeah, that's a depth move, right? Play him at AAA and for the year, and if somebody gets hurt, bring him up, play defense, I guess.
Yeah. So the player I am interested in watching to see how they do this first week, my boy from 2012, 2021, Chris Bryant. He played 40 games last year. He did well in those 40 games. He hit 305. He hits in Coors Field. He's probably not being drafted for what he could put up at Coors Field. I mean, Nolan Arenado was a first-round pick at Coors Field. Not so much outside of it, but now Chris Bryant, who won MVP in 2016, if he could stay healthy, he can match you a first round, second round value. So, all right, that's our look ahead for week one. It's a long week one, so not too much advice we can give you. Of course, we're already started in this week one of fantasy baseball, so we're more just here as excitement opening day. You guys have been watching opening day all day, I'm sure. Some of you have been stuck in the office, but I know you're watching. Any opening day standouts? Opening day standouts that you think is, hey, great for look at that, great job, Wes. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Dylan Cease, but so far right now, the game I'm watching looks like Shane Bieber is looking pretty good, fellas. Not gonna lie. We're into the bottom of the sixth, except that Ty France just hit a double off of him. Uh,
He's on your team, so that's all right,
Ty
right?
France is okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that double. No, Shane Bieber's looked really good so far. So him and Luis Castillo, we're in the bottom of the sixth. By the way, I do want to mention we're at 11:30 on the East Coast, and we're in the sixth inning on the West Coast games. By the way, that's
Shout out to the pitch clock.
right.
It's the Cubs game was 4-0, so there was some runs, and it finished in less than 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't.
I'll give you some stats on that game. I think it looks like Shane Bieber is six innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 hit, 2 hits now. So both hits from Ty France, my boy. Yeah, both hits are from Ty France. It's the only 2 he's given up.
All right. Today, Tommy, stand out from opening day. Who do you
Yeah,
got?
this one pains me to bring up, but I think he's gonna have a big year. I think he's gonna be a good player. It pains me not because I don't like him. I think he's an amazing guy and great for the game. But Adley Rutschman, he was playing my Red Sox, and he just absolutely put the hammer on us. 5 for 5 with 4 RBIs. I was really excited to see how well the Red Sox are going to do.
And a home run.
And
5 for 5 with a home run.
The first at bat was a home run. That's right. So all my hopium that I had all off season kind of went out the window. Late rally, finished the game 10-9.
And it's all down here from here,
Yeah,
Tommy.
but
It's all down here from here. With the Red
Adley
Sox.
Rutschman, he just he's going to be special. And that was a really big game for him opening day. 5 for 5, that's hard to do.
Yeah, 14 fantasy points according to CBS standard rules. That's huge. Russian's not a rookie this year. He broke that last year. So he's a sophomore this year. But to come out of the gate for the Orioles in that competitive AL East, That's huge. He's only a sophomore, but would you guys say he's a leader of that clubhouse based on his pedigree? Who else is on the team that
I would
is
say he probably
that leader of the
is.
clubhouse,
I would say he probably is.
or at least being looked on to
Yeah.
be?
I mean,
I don't really know any other options. Said Mullins,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, Sid Mullins is a veteran in that clubhouse probably.
Yeah.
Maybe one guy, but he's
Austin Hayes is young.
John Means. He seems to have been there a long time. He spent a lot of time in the IL. He taught Tommy John, but he's been a good veteran presence there for a long time.
Yeah. So all right, I missed who I bounced to. That was opening day reactions from.
Yeah.
That was Tommy.
Did we get opening reactions for you guys already?
Wes and Tommy just went.
Yeah, it's on Will.
Oh, it's on Will right now. All right, opening day reactions. Who were you happy to see or surprised to see do well just today in opening day?
O'Neal Cruz. I traded for him, and I was kind of
O'Neal
nervous
Cruz.
about it. I was kind of iffy. Like, hopefully this works out. But he took that. I think it was 101 from Hunter Green, high fastball, and just turned on it. And he's got a sweet swing. So love to see.
I'd be interested to hear the StatCast numbers on that.
Yeah.
101 from off Hunter O'Neal, O'Neal Cruz, who has the fastest StatCast home run, I think.
Yeah, I need to go
I don't know
look
what
it up.
it is, 119, 120.
Yeah.
Beats Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he can do. That got me a little fired up, seeing that, and see him turn on that and just smoke it. So we'll see.
Yeah, there
He's
you
a
go.
guy that just makes the game look so easy.
Oh, I know. Throwing across the diamond, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't help me or anything fantasy-wise, but it's just fun to see. It's just throwing beams across.
I'm looking forward to that Tyler O'Neill a home run today. 2021, he hit I think 34 home runs. Last year he was injury riddled. He didn't play very many games, and all of a sudden the Cardinals have a lot of outfield options. So very good to see that Tyler O'Neill came out today. He's only 1 for 4, but that one at bat was a 2-run home run. He did have a 5th at bat with a walk. So I'm excited to see that. He is on my fantasy team. Just have to throw that out there. Will Smith, of course, facing Wes, and my cheap clear pick. He's 3 for 3 with a double, 3 RBIs and a run. So that's huge coming from a catcher.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
I got a bunch of trade requests.
that Cardinals outfield. I know, right? Who didn't? Who didn't? But they were not fair to request. Let's be real.
There weren't real trades.
So, all right, guys. Any last notes that you guys want to bring up about opening day or players that you are excited about, or maybe or some fantasy baseball advice? Let's end with any fantasy baseball advice going into week 1. Maybe don't overreact. Any advice from you, Tommy?
Yeah, don't spike drop. This happens every year. Somebody goes, 0 for the first couple games, and you're panicked to find a waiver wire ad or go for a trade. And even though I give this advice, somebody's going to still go out there and do that. You drafted this guy for a reason. It's still early. It's 162 games a year. Hold on to him. Give it a couple weeks. A lot of guys struggle early. April's cold. March is cold. Let them warm up. It's going to be easy to do. So just if you got faith in them, hold on tight.
Yeah, I've definitely had that pain of dropping somebody too early before. I think I dropped Manny Machado, and then Wes picked him up in May, his rookie season, I think, or sophomore season.
And I was
and went off. I dropped Dylan
astounded
Cease
that you
years
dropped
ago
him.
in his rookie season. Astounded. He was trash. I mean, so even Dylan Cease, I have to say this note. Dylan Cease 2 years ago, I drafted him for $1. And in the month of April, he was pretty terrible. I get a text from Mr. Real Koshaver over here, BNB_Koshaver. Why are you still holding on to Cease? The dude is terrible. And so I was like, you know what? Fine. All right. I dropped him. And I think from that next start on, he was a freaking all-star. So that's just maybe just take your people inside your league's advice just carefully. Don't take it with full value. Not saying that Shaver here picked him up. I don't know who picked him up
Oh, it may.
that season, but yeah. So all right, Will, any fantasy advice for week 1?
I would just echo what Tommy said, really. I mean, we've all done, the quick ads or drops. I mean, if you have someone on your bench that was borderline to begin with, that's a different story. Picking somebody off waivers, someone you could afford to drop, but definitely don't, overreact on anyone big or anyone borderline. But if you got those guys picked up late, I don't see really an issue with making a waiver claim, taking a shot if you can afford to do it.
Yeah, I would say my advice is the same. Don't stick to your plan from you had from draft day. You see at draft day, you see the value of the whole season. Don't overreact to week 1. Stick to the plan. Give it a few weeks. But definitely, I think Wes said it or Tommy said it earlier. The waiver wire is hot early in the year, where that's usually you get your breakout players of the year. So don't be afraid to pick up guys who get off hot. Um, don't also make quick gut reactions. Stick to your plan, but also be quick to the waiver wire. So it's a mix of the two. You just gotta make sure you analyze what you don't make a waiver wire ad at 10:30 at night when the waiver cuts off at 11:30 or something. Give it some time. Actually do some value thinking. And so Wes, fantasy advice week 1.
Yeah, to that point, right? Fantasy baseball championships are won on the waiver wire, right? But typically it's in the first month or last month.
I mean, unless you got just some freaking draft
Yeah,
steals. I mean,
unless you're just in a league where it's like a 10 team league and like you got a studded lineup and you made some good trades, right? But
the guy in our league who do like no moves are in the bottom
yeah,
3 every
almost
year. So
always, right? And
there you go.
it's a long season, right?
Ted Will Hughes and Carpenter.
We'll see if they
Yeah,
listen.
right, yeah.
We'll see if they listen in.
So obviously pay attention to the waiver wire. If you have somebody that you're not confident in that you're okay to drop, to kind of echo what these guys said, yeah, take a chance on a guy early on, right? Because he might win you 2 3 weeks early in the season that kind of puts you ahead. Um, but you know, my advice and what I do is if you're interested in a guy and you see he had a good day, watch him play first before you pick him up, right? Because most of the time, if you're playing fantasy baseball, you know enough about baseball, you've watched it long enough, you can watch a guy play and say, hey, this is a guy I want on my team. He's a good player. O'Neal Cruz type, like, man, this guy's got it. He's fun to watch. Typically for me, there has to be a little bit of the eye test in there before I'm gonna, pick somebody up. But just kind of circle back around. Championships are won and lost on the waiver wire, man. That's just how it typically happens.
And that's I think like you said, watching the player. I watch the Cubs 99% of the time, but I still buy the full team package for MLB TV
Yeah,
because I want to watch individual players.
exactly.
That's what fantasy baseball is so much fun. Is you end up watching other teams in baseball because you have them on your team. That's how I got into more into the NFL is because I started playing fantasy football. I didn't know anything besides the Chicago Bears, and I really didn't know much about them anyways. But as soon as you start paying attention to individual players, you want to watch more different teams, and then all of a sudden you're involved in the whole game, the whole league,
Hmm.
and that's where all of a sudden you find yourself as a baseball fanatic.
Definitely.
So, all right, any last news or notes, guys? Anything else you guys wanted to bring up for this week?
Yeah, I found some things notable. Two omissions to the 60-day IL was Liam Hendricks, and so obviously some things are more important than baseball. He's dealing with cancer right now, and so I think he needs all the time he needs to be healthy. He's a fantastic closer, so everybody wants him, but things are more important. I thought that was interesting. I thought he was going to be out for the year when I first heard he had cancer, and he was not going to be playing. And the fact that they didn't put him the 60-day means he's got a chance to come back sooner than later. So hopefully he has a quick recovery, quick remission, and he's playing baseball again because I know that's what he loves. And then the other one was Bryce Harper. He just had Tommy John a handful of months ago. Another guy that we expected out till after the All-Star break, and that doesn't mean he can't put him on the 60-day later, but he has a chance to be back in May, early June, if he's not going to go on that 60-day.
The reports are positive of that. If he's on your waiver wire and you have IL spots, you better put that in right now to go pick up Bryce
100%.
Harper if you have IL spots. I mean, if you don't even have IL spots, if you have bench spots, I think Bryce Harper, he is a first round type player when he's healthy. And so if he's on your waiver wire, he is the immediate add, even though injured.
To that point, though, Tommy, I've been waiting to see who the White Sox would use, and Ronaldo Lopez did get the save today. So I did already put in a waiver claim for him. That is the guy I was talking about beforehand, and I would not tell you who it was. We'll see how that works out. Obviously, when Hendricks comes back, he's probably the guy, but.
We still got 17 minutes to put in a claim on Wes.
I'm number 2 on the waiver wire, so hopefully nobody. I don't know who's won, but
yeah,
I'm sure it's 10.
I'm glad you brought that up, Wes. Another closer battle that's been interesting is with Edwin Diaz going down in the WBC. Otto Ottavino, Dave Robertson.
Yeah, David Robertson.
Yeah,
David
a
Robertson,
couple of the guys. We weren't sure who got the saves, and this doesn't mean anything because it's just the first game. But Dave Robertson got the first save for the Mets this year, so that may give him the edge. It may be by committee, and it's just lefty-righty matchups, but that's something else to watch.
Yeah, and
the Cubs have two guys who are being considered the closer, and Michael Fulmer came in and closed out for the Cubs. Not that the Cubs are super competitive, but they're not a bottom of the barrel team. So if Michael Fulmer, who was a stud as a rookie, as Coach Shaver can attest to, if he is a closer, that could be a huge value. He could turn into an elite closer. I think if he was given that role, Michael Fulmer would finish the year as an elite closer.
And one other job to pay attention to is the Dodgers job. We'll see where it goes. Dave Roberts hasn't really said who's going to be the guy. Obviously, Bruce Gratterall has the stuff. Evan Phillips had a great year last year. Daniel Hudson was in the mix. Doesn't look like he's in the mix much anymore. But the Dodgers are up 5-2 right now. They're in the 6th. So maybe we'll get to see who actually closes the game tonight. And one other thing I do have to clarify. Bieber actually went 6 innings with 6 hits and 3 strikeouts. It was Luis Castillo that went 6 innings, 1 hit. Just wanted to clarify that before we close out.
Yeah, I saw your note there. A little stat correction from BNB West.
Yeah. Ty France does have 2 hits, though. So.
Ty France has 2 hits. 2 for 3 with the double. There you go. So, all right, guys. Well, we're gonna close it out here on episode 2, opening day 2023 from Fantasy Baseball Camp. The whole committee was here tonight. You'll see some 4 of us 4 here on a weekly basis. I think Wes is. You might not see BNB score Wes here in the next few episodes as dude is going on a trip vacation, right?
Yeah. I won't be here next week. I will be at a very important position at a very important golf tournament that happens to happen about this time every year, if you know what that is. If you don't, well, you should tune in and find out.
So just Google golf events first week of April. There you go, folks.
You'll see commercials about it. Don't worry.
Wes, where can we find you on social media? What's that tag again?
Yeah, so you can find me at BNB_Wes. I guess I'll be the black sheep. I'm the one with a first name instead of a last name.
It's shorter than Hughes, I guess. And Coach Shaver, where can we find you? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Twitter as well?
No, just Instagram right now. BNB_Coach Shaver, KOCHEVAR. spell
Yeah,
that one
maybe
out.
you should have been the one that should
Yeah,
have been first name,
yeah.
BNB_Will.
I
But
like that, and I was,
it's,
that would have been
it's,
better. Would have been much better,
it's
actually.
unique, baby. It's unique,
Yeah,
baby.
that's for sure.
And Tommy, are you first name or last name? BNB underscore.
BNB_Lombard.
All right,
LOMBARD.
there you go. And I'm BNB_Burns. This has been Fantasy Baseball Camp episode 2, opening day 2023. Thanks for everybody for listening in. If you listen in, please give us some feedback. React give us reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Shoot us a message on Instagram for one of any of these 4 or 5 accounts that we just mentioned. Give your feedback, give your fantasy advice. It's a game, guys. It's fun. So this has been opening day 2023. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Go.